Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January edition of the Startup Minot Business Showcase and Networking event. We appreciate you all being here. Of course, our mission is to entice and encourage entrepreneurs to maybe help inspire new ideas, and especially to help our entrepreneurs find their way to the agencies and the organizations that can help them pursue their dreams. There are so many awesome support agencies in our community, and we want to make sure that our entrepreneurs have access to them. So we hold these networking events with amazing guest speakers so we can learn from other entrepreneurs at numerous stages. We have people who have just started their business to we've had billion-dollar successful owners here, so and everything in between. So we can learn from both those at the beginning of their journey and those who have accomplished just about everything they would like to. So your goal today might be to meet someone new, to consider something new, to go outside your comfort zone, test your assumptions about your business or current business plan, or maybe even take that next step forward in opening your business. So there's a lot of partners that make this happen. We appreciate them. The North Dakota Small Business Development Center, Service Based and Planning Council, the Minot Area Chamber EDC, Credence Energy, Dakota Business Lending, and many from the private sector. And we have some pretty awesome sponsors that have helped push this forward. You can see them on our banners. Of course, the First Western Bank and Trust as our presenting sponsor. We love having banks back us up because, of course, as people wanting to be in business, eventually you're probably going to need a little money to do that. So it's great to see the bank supporting this. We also have the North Dakota Small Business Development Centers, the Bank of North Dakota, Brevera Town and Country Credit Union, First International Bank and Trust, Cornerstone Bank, Credence Energy Service, People's State Bank, and Dakota Business Lending, all trying to do their part to get behind the Minot Area Chamber EDC Startup Minot effort for entrepreneurs. This morning, we are very excited to welcome our guest speaker, Jayde Lindbo. Let's give a warm Startup Minot welcome to the owner of Golden Touch Specialties. Jayde Lindbo is the owner of Golden Touch Specialties, LLC, serving Minot and surrounding areas with landscaping, commercial snow removal, and home improvement services. During and after high school, Jayde worked for his dad doing landscaping. He then opened a successful car detailing business, then segued into property management and now Golden Touch. Jayde, currently age 24, lives near Burlington with his wife Marissa and their son and dog. Jayde is involved in Bread of Life Church and hopes to further his family's involvement in charity and community service as time goes on. He enjoys spending his rationed free time golfing, skiing, mountain biking, hiking, and water sporting. Sounds pretty fun. Jayde also exercises 4 to 5 times per week and believes strongly in mental and physical strength and focus, frequently engaging and associating with self-development books and audio tapes. Jayde was born and raised in Minot and has spent his whole life building relationships in the surrounding area. During this time, Jayde saw a need and an opportunity to fulfill the request of the community, delivering a high-quality service through communication and the home improvement industry. Growing up with 2 business-owning parents and a business-owning grandfather, Jayde was wired to be his own boss long before he knew it himself. Jayde, tell us about that last part. You were wired to be your own boss long before you knew it yourself.
Well, thank you everyone for allowing me to come here. I'm honored to be here today. I'm usually eating a donut right about now, and so it's kind of nice to be on the other side of things, and I'm honored that everyone would want me to come and speak. So by the time that I started my business, I had met the woman who is now my wife, and so I kind of was starting to get an idea of the bigger picture of things. And you know, at first, I had no intention on starting a business. I was very comfortable where I was at. I knew I could probably do it, but I had no desire until I saw the bigger picture, the 2, 5, and 10-year plans as they talk about. So in May of 2021, I was working for IMM, and I had a really bad day, and I quit the job, and that was after about 10 years of working for my dad. And so basically when that happened, how that happened is I was doing a side job for an apartment complex that I knew the owner of, and I realized the opportunity. And I realized that there was, if these people were asking me to do it when there's all these other companies around, I thought maybe this is my time to go. And so I quit my job, after that one side job I was doing early in the morning and late at night when I got off of work. And by June 15th, I was licensed, insured, ready to go. I already had some equipment and obviously plenty of experience. So when I started my business, I figured it was the quickest way to acquire money to get into other realms of real estate and things like that I'd like to get into later in life. So in a way, Golden Touch is a means to an end, but I know that it's going to be useful, and it already has been in any other endeavors that I embark on going forward. So it kind of just happened by surprise all of a sudden, and I guess I'm 4.5 years in, so I guess it's probably working.
Yeah, of course, you're paying your bills by being self-employed, having your own business. Now, again, you had mentioned business-owning grandfather, business-owning parents. We all learn from our mentors. These people were clearly mentors in your life, maybe even inspirations. What did you learn from being around people who run businesses? How did that help you in your business?
Well, I guess, the first thing is that owning a business is, if you do it right and you're in the right business and you're the right business for you, I believe that owning a business is the fastest way to achieve, I guess, wealth or, get your time back later in life. Freedom is the right word for it. Yes. And so I think that I saw that in a lot of people that I was surrounded by. And a lot of those people were my family and many of them weren't. And I just looked up to all the people that I've listened to and heard and known over the years. And I thought it just doesn't make any sense to do anything else. I just didn't like having a boss. And I think that as far as what I learned from the people in my family is in business is the quality of life. I mean, you just have such a better quality of life. You have to make some sacrifices, but at the end of the day, it's worth it tenfold.
Well, those are your sacrifices as opposed to sacrifices you're making towards somebody else's business.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
That's towards your own end.
Yep. And you're still making sacrifice either way. As they say, everybody has problems. So it's all about the quality of your own problems that really matters in life.
So you get this light bulb moment where you realize more people are going to want my business services. This is working. What were the next steps? How did you acquire more clients? Did you lay out a business plan?
Well, yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of a business plan. I kind of had some things mocked up on a couple of notepads. I've had about 4 or 5 notepads spread out on my desk on how I'm going to do this and how this is going to tie into stuff 10, 20 years down the road in my life. But, what really helped me to really get going is when, obviously everybody had their first job, and I found very quickly that I would have these people saying things like, I just can't get anybody to call me back, or I just can't, I can't get them to, they call and they say they're going to show up and then they just don't come. And I thought, well, why would you do that? It's just like nowadays you hear, well, you hire somebody and then they don't show up for work. Well, why get a job? But what happened is that I just was like, well, if all I have to do is communicate better with these people and perform a good service while I'm at it, then I already have a business. I'm not going to be, and it's been proven true ever since 2021. I have not advertised, in exception of my display in Oak Park and a few T-shirts, and I haven't been able to keep up. Our business is reducing liability and increasing the value of people's real estate. That's basically what we're trying to do. And we're trying to do it with means of thorough communication. And no matter what industry you're in, if you do that, you're going to get all kinds of customers, because all people want is to really clearly understand what is going on and what they're paying for and when it's going to get done.
Yeah, clear communication sounds like a foundation of what has helped you be successful in these handful of years. You said you kind of had a 2, 5, 10-year roadmap. What did each stage look like for you when you laid that out, even across your 4 or 5 notepads?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't stay the same as you create it on day one. It always seems to change. They say you're supposed to review it daily. But if you review it every year, you can see the trajectory of your life versus what you thought was going to happen. And you can make adjustments to that. But for me, my goal was that, I contrasted it against a job on how long it would take me to acquire passive income through real estate. And I have other business ideas as well. If I have time, I can touch on those things. But basically I thought that in that roadmap, I would own real estate within 10 years, which is still well within the plan. My plan includes if I have about 100 units of like apartment building units, I would probably be able to retire early, hopefully by 40, which, some people would laugh, but other people would look at the plan and say it's feasible. And so essentially, I thought once I have units, Golden Touch can serve as a double tax write-off because I can write off the material that I purchase to do the jobs for my own building, and I can write off the expense in the other business of hiring Golden Touch in the first place. And so I thought that I could save a lot of money and maybe just be a little bit more intelligent in the process and also get there quicker. And so that was my 2, 5, 10-year plan in a nutshell is, first of all, get the business up and going. Make sure it's going to work. Make sure you're going to make money. And then after that 5-year plan, which I'm almost at that stage right now, 5-year plan is to just make sure that I'm on a steady upward trend every year in terms of revenue, in terms of net. And after that, it's just a matter of being smart enough with my money and not having too many setbacks to wind up being able to purchase real estate.
When you first began your business, did you already own equipment? Did you have to take a loan? What were those startup months looking like as you built your clientele and your gear?
Well, one thing that really changed over time is the quality of jobs that I got. At first, I was doing whatever I could find because I didn't know if I was going to be able to find anything. I mean, obviously, everybody has that doubt when you first start out. You don't know if it's going to work. It's really hard to take the leap of quitting your job to do something like this. And I know a lot of people who haven't taken that leap, and they really should.
They should.
Right.
Yes,
and
you're right.
I try every opportunity I get, I try to talk people into doing it because the only doubt that you're really having is the doubt in yourself, because the opportunity is always going to be there if you look in the right place.
I'm the same way. Thank you for doing that. People need that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I did, I guess. But no, anyway, what was the question again?
I don't know. We got derailed there.
Yeah, it happens. That's why I keep these notes so that maybe I can stay a little bit on track. But yeah, it's just when I first started,
it was about building clientele in the beginning and how your jobs got progressively better. I'm assuming your clients got better in the beginning. Of course, you're taking every and any job that you can.
Yeah.
I want to say you mentioned real estate a few times and then apartments. So when you're looking at investing in real estate, is that your target? Is an apartment complex or multiple complexes, or what's your aim in the real estate world in terms of what you want to buy?
Well, I mean, there's all different kinds of real estate. I know we have real estate people here right now, and there's different types of it. There's the types that you use to operate a business. There's the types that you live in, and then there's the types that you rent out for other people to live in. And now the third type is what I'd like to have, because it means that, there's only 2 resources that human beings are really short on in life, and that's time and money. And if you can solve the money problem, it doesn't factor into your decision making anymore. It doesn't mean that you have to be a rich, greedy person. It just means that you have the freedom to have your time back and do what you want with your family. I've made a lot of sacrifices over the past couple of years, especially as I've really ramped up over the $200,000 mark. And one of those sacrifices is time away from my 1-year-old son. And it's a really hard thing to do. And I can really see myself spending every day with them, because most parents don't get to do that. And I guess I'm trying to shoot for that. And I feel that passive income through multifamily real estate or commercial real estate that has residual or passive income is the ultimate way to, and that's where it kind of gets into, what do you really want? I mean, when you're in business, do you want to just make a little bit of money so you don't got to deal with that boss you don't like? Or do you want to go out and make millions of dollars and really, change your life and get your time back? And that's kind of what my goal is to get my time back. I don't need to be filthy rich, as they say. I just would really like to have my time back with my family before it's gone, because we never know when our, last day is going to be.
It's very admirable, and I find a lot of my own inspirations in when I started my own business in what you're saying here. So I applaud that and your will toward that. Looking at what you actually do in your business, home improvement, landscaping, these can be very broad terms. Can I call you to fix my bathroom? Can I call you if I want to remodel my kitchen? What are people specifically calling your business for that you specialize in?
Right. Well, thanks for asking. I do a lot of different things. Basically, my bread and butter is landscaping. I've been a landscaper since I was 9 years old, and that's what I'm good at. But I decided that in the wintertime, I didn't want to sit around and wait on snow removal like every other landscaper. I do snow removal, but I don't depend on it. And so I basically do landscaping, deck building, light construction, home remodeling, flooring painting, commercial snow removal, and a few thousand other things.
Sure.
But, essentially, that's kind of been another thing that's been, I guess, more so formed by my customers, because I didn't know what people were going to need.
Sure.
So, I mean, like, for example, you mentioned kitchens. Well, when I first started, I advertised kitchens all the time. I haven't got more than 2 calls in 4 years for doing a kitchen. And that's just the way it is, because people look at your stuff and they see that you haven't done many kitchens in your photos and your website description, and they'll call somebody who has more experience. Now, I might be able to do it for less money, but if somebody wants that, they're going to have to go with somebody with experience. I would have gotten into them had there been a demand for them. But if I don't get a call for it, I wind up focusing on basically the things that I mentioned: light construction, home renovation, and mostly landscaping in the summertime.
So somebody wants a nice landscape retaining wall, some trees installed. They call you. I want an oasis with a pond that I can enjoy for 2.5 months in North Dakota.
Yeah,
I can call you, right?
That's exactly it. And the thing is about that is you got to have certain, like, I guess, licensing, certification, insurance requirements for that kind of thing. And so when you get into business, you really got to know what you need before you get into it. We are certified applicators. We can apply pesticides, herbicides, all of that. We also are certified arborists. So most people don't know this, but you're supposed to be a certified arborist if you're going to trim your own bushes. It's a really weird thing in Minot, but it is what it is. And so I do a lot of that.
It sounds like it's not strictly enforced.
I don't know if it's not strictly enforced, but it's more so, if you do it at 9 o'clock at night, who's going to see you type deal, I guess. And if you got 2 bushes by your front door, I don't think you're going to get fined hundreds of dollars for that. But you do have to be certified to do it, because you have to know how to do it. You have to be good at it. You have to do what's healthy for the plant, and you have to know how to plant them and maintain them after they're planted in order for them to survive, root in nice. So, it's just all that stuff that people don't think about. They think you just dig a little hole, put a tree in the ground, and it'll be 300 feet tall. And so, we try and just provide a professional edge to that stuff. And we always try to help people find somebody, even if we can't do their job. We try to provide them with referrals. That goes back to the communication thing. So if I can't help somebody in a timely fashion or with exactly what they need, then I try to find at least 2 options for them to contact people. And I don't charge nothing for that. I don't charge anything for my time on that regard, and I don't charge anything for estimates. I just want to help people find a solution, even if it's not me.
What have your struggles been as a business owner?
Well, that's a tough one, because there's a few. If any of you are in business, you know what I'm talking about. You don't know what your struggles are until you're in it, right? It's not like you say, okay, well, ask ChatGPT what my struggles are going to be when I start this business, right? One of the biggest ones is definitely the toll it takes on my family. I don't think my wife knew what she was signing up for. She does a lot with our son because of my sacrifice when I'm gone April through October a lot. And takes a toll on your family to have a business if you're really gung-ho about it and you really want to grow it and you really want to make it something big and amazing. It's hard on your family. Just a fair warning. The other hard thing is I wrote, I think, 4 things down for this. I'll try and make it quick. The initial leap of faith quitting your job, as I mentioned before. It's a hard thing to do. You don't know if it's going to make it, and it's a period of high anxiety. But if you get through it, you'll realize that you had absolutely nothing to worry about.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying until you realize that, oh my gosh, now I got a different problem. Now people aren't quitting calling me.
There's such a security in clocking in and knowing there's a paycheck on the other side of that versus this.
Why do you think so many millions and millions of people do that? I mean, it's the easier way because it's the security of it, and you don't run into as many problems. And if you do, you can just walk out and deal with it tomorrow. But I guess I sound like every other business owner here, but employees is hard. I'd have $1 million business instantly if I knew how to just hire people that were qualified, know exactly what to pay them, and just go and delegate them to do stuff, because I could be doing 4 different jobs at the same time. That's what my dad did when he was in business. And I saw how hard that was for him. And I said, well, I'm not going to get to that point. I'll get into another business realm before I'm running 20 guys around. But employees is really, if you have a smaller business, say less than 10 employees, it really is only as hard as you make it, because they're out there and you could find them. You just got to figure out how to keep them. I have one employee who's been with me for 3.5 years, and he started working for me when he was 16, and now he's an adult with a son on the way, and has no intentions of going anywhere. And the way that I retained him, because I realized the value of what he can learn, is that I decided that I'm just going to continue to reward him for good performance. Most people, it's like, okay, you get to a cap and, you're not getting many more raises, and you might get a little bonus at the end of the year, a nice gift basket or something. But this kid is barely 20 years old, and he's making $22 an hour. And for me, that's what I want to do, because it costs me less money than starting over. So it's only as hard as you make it with employees. If you reward them, you'll find the right people. Another good business that I know of is my mom's business, Gourmet Chef. They have really good employee retention. They've had more employees than I can count that have worked there for almost 10 years. And that's just because of the fact that you have to reward them and you have to treat them good, and they will be loyal to you as you are to them. And the last one is, I guess, the current toughest problem that I have in business. Getting started, you have different problems, but right now, my biggest problem is time management. Anybody who knows me well, I showed up with 4 minutes to spare here this morning. Usually I would be late. Time management is tough, especially when it comes to you're getting more calls than you have time to service. And so whether it be a small or big thing, I really hate making people wait. I hate letting people down in that way. And that's where the thorough communication comes back in, because you have to be honest with people. If you can't do something right away, you can't be a yes man that says, yes, I can help you with this, and I'll be over there tomorrow, and then you don't show up for 3 weeks because you're just swamped. And people just don't understand that.
You never should have said yes in the first place.
You should have said, yes, I can do it, but my first question now when somebody calls me, which I never thought it would be this, is what's your deadline?
Yeah.
That's my first question, because if I can't meet that based on what I'm willing, what kind of job it is, the quality of the job, and if I'm willing to displace other people to try and fulfill that opportunity, it's a balancing act. It's a juggling act is what it is. And if you do that the right way, you can keep people happy and just let them know, hey, it might be a while because I like to take my time and do a good job. But if you're willing to wait, then, I can help you.
Yeah, again, with your clear communication, coming back to something that has been essential to your business model. You mentioned sacrifice and time a lot and being away. Have you learned when to say no? At what point do you say no and realize this is as much as I can maintain?
Yeah.
Do you have that? Have you hit that point?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a master of it by any means. It's really hard to say no to people. It's hard to be the person who disappoints, but at the same time, if it's a lesser of two evils, it makes it a little easier, because it's either you say no right away and then you provide them with another solution like I mentioned, or you say yes right away and then you say no after you already led somebody to believe that you were going to help.
Yeah, I have a proclivity to say yes, and it did get me at a point several years into Midwest Murder and other things I was doing where I knew I've now hit overcommitment, and I don't have time for one of these things I'm doing anymore. And it was a stressful moment, and it was unfortunate. Certain partnerships had to come to a close and things like that. But that's also comes with self-understanding and knowing where you need to invest your focus.
And what you're capable of at the moment.
Right. Have you hit anything like that?
Yeah, well, I usually let things sort themselves out in a way. What I usually do is the first thing is I look at, like I said, I ask them what their deadline is. If I can't meet it, well, it's not necessarily my problem that they have the deadline that they have. So that kind of puts the ball back in their court as if like, hey, you know, I would love to help you, but I can't meet your deadline. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to pass, or we'll look at it later on. And sometimes things circle back around. I had an opportunity like that $10,000 job that I initially said no to. And then a year later, I contacted the person back and I ended up doing it. And it was far past their deadline, but they couldn't get anybody else to do it within their deadline either. So I wound up doing it anyway. But, you know, so as far as to answer your question, I guess I would say that the easiest way to handle it is just when you're deep in business, like a couple years or a year, whatever it may be for you, is to pick the quality of job you want to do. If somebody asks me to do a kitchen remodel and I haven't done one in 3.5 years and I'm busy with other stuff, then I'm going to give them a couple of good referrals. I literally know friends of mine, not just acquaintances, that have businesses that specialize in that. So I refer them that way, help out a friend, and then I don't feel bad anymore because now I've helped out somebody that I know personally that also is a local business to support, and I've helped the other person find a better solution than me.
And Jayde, personally, I would argue you had nothing to feel bad for in the first place.
Well, right.
You gotta work on that.
That's the human nature.
You gotta work on that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
My good friend Don would say, take that to therapy.
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys that likes to say, I don't need no therapy. But I probably do.
But I find it very, very relatable. So I can appreciate that. I know you have a bullet point, some bullet points on there. Is there anything else I haven't asked you about your business that I missed?
Well, no, we're following right along right now.
I didn't have his script, by the way. I'm completely unscripted up here.
Well, you know, to be honest, I don't really need something like this normally, but I was I have to make some notes to say on track with time. Otherwise, I'll sit up here for 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, with that, I'd love to ask if you guys have any questions in the audience.
I guess the only other thing to share is, or that Mark was asking me about was, you know, like as far as what's coming next for the company and big success story and stuff like that. But I guess I would rather hear what you guys want to ask and what you guys have to say about everything.
I would ask real quick while they think of their awesome questions out there. Were there any local services, organizations, mentors outside of your family that you used that you would recommend to others? Things like Startup or the Academy or the Small Business Development Centers, anything like that came into play for you?
Well, yeah, in terms of, you know, we could talk about what's coming next for the company and the success story of a problem you work through and things like that. But more than anything, you know, I'd like to talk about resources that people can use when they're getting into business.
Yeah.
Because people have to know about those things, because those are part of those crutches that you can use to take the initial leap of faith to quit your job and fulfill your dream. And my grandpa told me when I was a little bit younger, he said, you need a good team of 3 people on your team. You need a good attorney, a good banker, and a good accountant. And that's the first thing you got to find if you're going to get into business. At least not, you know, like you have to pay him thousands of dollars, but just, you know, have contact with somebody who's willing to answer your questions. And that's the first resource that I would say to use. And secondly is all the banks that we have, you know, like you look at the banks that have sponsored these events, and it's just, I mean, it's outstanding to see the support that's there. I mean, there's all kinds of organizations that want to help small businesses. You just have to seek them out a little bit. You have to look in the right places to find them. And so I kind of tried to help do that. As far as my own journey, I did take Startup Minot Academy in 2023 with a couple of friends of mine. I don't believe either of them are in business, but I benefited from it a lot. And I would never, as a matter of fact, I wish I had been able to increase the time of the classes to about 4 or 5 hours a week, because it was really, I felt like there was so much information that I learned, retained. I have all kinds of information on it still. Mark sent us home with a big binder when we left the course, and I look at it frequently. Everything we mapped out in that course. So between that and, you know, online resources, self-development material, You basically just got to look at somebody who already has what you want, and you have to model them, and you'll get there if you do everything that they did.
You mentioned books. Is there a particular book you'd recommend?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Oh, there's so many of them. I mean,
I hate to put you on the spot.
No,
Is there one that, I know there's a lot. Is there
there's
one
so many, and that's the thing is I don't think you can go wrong. Unless you're one of the reasons I didn't go to college is because it was tough for me to want to learn how to run a business from somebody who didn't have one. But I would say Think and Grow Rich for sure, and then probably How to Win Friends and Influence People.
There you go.
By Dale Carnegie,
All right.
Coincidentally. But no, it's an amazing book, and that's how you learn the communication and how to deal with people in a way that's going to make you successful, even if that person's not easy to deal with or not, happy with you or whatever the case may be. Helps you save face. Not only that, but helps you, turn situations around if there was anything that went wrong.
How to Make Friends and Influence People. I haven't read that one yet, so
it's a great book.
Okay.
It's like 100 and some years old, but it's a great book.
No kidding. All right, now to the audience questions. Who's got one out there?
When you like you were just talking about, winning friends and influence, can you give us an example of something in your business that something happened that could have been a disaster, but because of how you handled it with the customer? Can you give us an example of how you were able to make things?
Right. I do have a great example of that, actually. It doesn't happen very often, luckily, but it does happen. And I had a customer in Burlington that asked me to build a very unique and non-routine staircase. And it was in a tight area. There was, say, this is a little hallway. Here's her garage door. Here's her house door, and here's another exterior door. Real small area. I could not build the staircase to code because of the fact that it literally didn't have enough space to do it. And so I told her that up front, and it was in the contract. And when the thing got done, I think there was one board that must have had some kind of split in it, and she I think walked in the wrong place on there, broke the board, and flew off the handle. And she said, oh, it's a month old and it's falling apart and this is unbelievable and, whatever. And this was at 10 o'clock at night. And so I said, Marissa, I'll be right back. And I went and called her and she answered the phone, and I spent probably a half hour on the phone with her working through the situation. First thing I did was, obviously, this person thinks you're the problem. So the first thing you do is you apologize. And you just say, listen, I just want you to know that this was an honest mistake, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it right with you. And as long as you get that across the person in a way that makes them feel heard and assures them that you're going to fix their problem, then you're golden. Now, what ended up happening is I went out there, fixed the problem. It took me probably 20 minutes. And she's never had a problem since. It's been over 2 years since I've done that job. And she ended up leaving me a 5-star review. And she ended up paying me in full with a tip. And not only that, but she apologized to me for getting upset. And so that was really nice because it really proved to me that the book works. It proved to me that if you handle these things with people correctly, there's really not a lot of problems you can't overcome with people. But you try and maybe avoid those situations. But this one was unavoidable. This person was glowing and very kind every other time except for that issue. So sometimes you can tell if people are going to be difficult, and then you maybe try to avoid it. But I guess to answer your question, that's my number one example, because that was the only time I've really had anybody ever upset at my quality of work, which is good, so.
How about I ever ask you, Jayde, where did the name of the company come from?
Well,
why did you invest?
Oh, it's funny you say that. That's a long story, and I'll condense it into, any of you guys got to work today? No, I'm kidding. No, I've got a short version of the story. So basically, when I was in high school, I had a car detailing company. I did all kinds of different stuff. I cleaned agricultural spray planes. I did some work for some agricultural companies out of town, like Shresky Ag. I did work for the 3 affiliated tribes. I did all kinds of different stuff as a 16-year-old. Going and working for my dad and going to school with straight A's. So I was not getting much sleep, to be honest with you. And when I started this detailing company in 2016 or 17, I was like, I actually started it when I was like 14, 15 years old. Before I even had a driver's license, it was called Fast Lane Car Cleaning Service. Well, then this nice car wash came to town, and I didn't have anything trademarked, anything in an LLC or trade name, so I had to change my name. And I did it before they even ever knew I existed. And so I like to say I was the first Fast Lane. But anyway, no, I asked my friend, my friend Jake and I were playing video games at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I got to figure something out. I got to come up with a name. And he was a real creative kid. I mean, he's still a good friend of mine. And he came up with Golden Touch. And that was the name for the car detailing business. And then so the car detailing business ended when I chose to continue with the career. Part-time careers. I was still in high school. It was just too much to handle. It was the only thing that I couldn't fathom committing to. If I could have, I could be in a completely different position today, not doing this type of work. I'm kind of glad I got out of it. It's hard on your body. And landscaping is too, but not like that. So long story short is when I went to start this business, I'm like, great, now I got to do this again. I got to figure out a name for it. So I called him up. And I said, you got to help me figure out a name. You helped me figure out a name for Golden Touch. You got to help me figure out a name for my new business. He said, well, what's wrong with Golden Touch? And I said, well, nothing, I guess. Golden Touch it is. And that was the story. It was actually the name of a prior business, and it's a unique name. There's all kinds of different names out there. There's, you don't want to include your last name in a business because it's trouble for the resale value of it if you ever do build it up to sell it down the road, especially if the new person doesn't have your same last name. But there's all kinds of things. There's quality and integrity and ubiquity and all these different names that end with ITY, or these different names like North Star, or different things like that. I just wanted something that wasn't replicated. I wanted something with no confusion. That's why I basically chose Golden Touch, because I couldn't find anybody else except for like a cleaning company in Fargo that even used the name Golden Touch in North Dakota. So I figured, it rolls off the tongue nice. Call Golden Touch. Nobody else has the name in this town, and makes it easy, I guess.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, that's a heck of a great Startup Minot session, everybody. We're going to wrap it up right there. Give everybody time to maybe ingest a little more coffee, donuts, meet somebody. Of course, Startup is the second Thursday of every month. We'd love to see you back here. Be a friend, tell a friend, bring a friend. Let's give it up for Jayde. Thank you.
Hey.